Kila, shall we begin now?
Yes,
Okay, right. Assalamualaikum. Salam hari Jumaat, penghulu segala hari. A very good morning, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, ladies and gentlemen online. Thank you for your response to our another series of online webinar in which the ultimatum of this series is to promote MEF, our role, functions and services. Nevertheless, the attraction for you to be here online joining us today is, of course, the very important talk by our speaker, our OSH consultant, Tuan Haji Anis Fahmy, which later on will take the screen, yeah. But before that, let me just introduce you to MEF, where Akila has shared with you just now on the outline of the program of today's webinar. This webinar is actually with the cooperation of Bank Muamalat Malaysia Berhad, of which I believe some of you online here who participate in our webinar are their clients, yeah? Okay, now I will talk to you on MEF, the role, function, services, and a little bit on membership before I pass the mic over to Tuan Haji Anis Fahmy, who will take the floor at around, I think kita start sekarang 9.30, pukul 10 ya. Pukul 10 to 11, about 1 hour. Okay, 1 hour and it will end with Q&A. Okay, and by doing that, let us begin our program, yeah? All right. You hold on, please. Let me just share the slide. Okay. So my set of slides is on the screen. Okay, so I will give you an overview of MEF role, functions and services as I mentioned just now. Okay, what is MEF? Why MEF is an organization for employers. Yeah, the name is Employers Federation. Jadi if it is so we call it a federation. The membership is of course coming in from private sector employers as well as industry groups, yeah. So the thing is, for MEF, we have been established, I think since 1959, yeah, 1959 dan 64 tahun we are in existence, and the vision is set clearly, which is for us to be the premier employees representative we are the spokesperson for the employers in Malaysia, and we represent employers of Malaysia at the various levels, at the national, di peringkat kebangsaan, serantau, which is regional, as well as at the international levels. And we also would like to be the leader in the development of HR, and in doing that, we promote good employment practices and harmonious industrial relations. Yeah. Okay, now. So what is MEF in short? We are actually the point of reference for the views of employers, and we are the trusted body here, which we express the business needs of employers. Okay, the emphasis is on business needs, yeah, because kalau MEF, people would think that we are just dealing with employment macam HR matters saja. Tidak, because we would like to be involved in the entire spectrum of the business needs of the employers. Nanti saya explain later on in my other slides. And we also represent the Malaysian employers, yeah, like I mentioned just now, at the various levels, national, regional, and international. Okay, now, so when we claim ourselves to be the point of reference for employers' views, as you can see, these are the proof, the evidence, in which for MEF, we regularly put up our statement in the press, okay? So, sama ada proactively ataupun reactively, okay, proactively, because banyak issues melibatkan employees sekarang ni, okay, now. Jadi, kalau let's say you see us in our printed media, electronic media, yeah, memang whatever the case is, the business needs of the employers will be voiced out, will be the concerns of MEF, yeah, okay. And then we also express employees' business needs, as I mentioned just now. Kita pun dijemput oleh pihak-pihak, misalnya kalau kerajaan, or even the NGOs, or even the unions, yeah, we work together in a tripartite nature, where kita sort of like macam kita selalu ada discussions, ada mutual understanding, in which we come out with the views, yeah. The thing is, kalau government or even the mass media, they would like to get the employers' views, MEF, of course, will be approached. Okay, okay, this one, yeah, lagi. Now, so in a nutshell, what is MEF? So we are here in existence to assist employers. Okay, jadi kalau employers sini, normally, kalau macam company, saya sedang berhad whatsoever, we deal with the HR team, ya. Okay, kalau macam sole proprietors, ya, kita deal directly with the employers per se. So you know where to find us, because we will be there to assist you as the employers. Kalau katakan you ada issue, pressing issues, which you would like the government to know of your problems or whatsoever, collectively, you can bring up the matter to MEF. Because MEF is involved in the various government platforms to bring up the matters which are of concerns of the employers. Yeah. Okay. Now, so this is on kata in summary lah. So MEF is a central organisation of private sector employers. Yeah. Now, so the milestone of MEF, as you can see, kita macam saya mention tadi, kita established in 1959. So sekarang ni dah tahun 2023 ya. Jadi kita melalui transformasi lah from the name of Federation of Malaya Industrial and Commercial Employers Consultative Association, very mouthful lah, that was way back in 1959. Jadi kita start gunakan MEF semenjak tahun apa tu 1977 now sehingga sekarang. And then as you can see 246 kita ada 6 regional offices nationwide, ya, untuk memastikan our employers, our members, ya, nationwide are being serviced, ya. So contohnya the northern region, we have an office in Seberang Jaya mainland, ya, and then it looks after Kedah, Pulau Pinang dan Perlis, and then the southern region in Ulu Tiram, where it looks after the membership in Johor, yeah, southern region. For East Coast, we have an office located in Kuantan, looking after Pahang, Terengganu and Kelantan. And for Perak, as in Johor lah tadi, it's just for to look after the matters of employers, our members in Perak, in the state itself. Kita ada di Sarawak juga. Di Sarawak is in Kuching, and then di Sabah in Kota Kinabalu. Yeah, right. Now, so tadi I did mention on the MEF represent the business needs of the employers, kan? Okay, as you can see in these two coming slides. Contohnya, all these councils lah, they are tripartite in nature. Tripartite meaning ada kerajaan, ada employees dan ada employers representatives. Okay, jadi employers representatives tu, of course, the wakil ialah MEF, ya. NLAC, the National Labour Advisory Council, okay, discuss the highest labour punya matters lah in the country melalui NLAC. Diorang mean the tripartite tu being chaired by MOHR, ya. Berjumpa ataupun bermesyuarat beberapa kali tahun. And then even you heard about the we call it minimum wage matters, all that, kan? That falls under the jurisdiction discussed at the NWCC. Okay, lepas tu kita juga ada wakil kita di EPF Board, di MPC Board, and COSH, Vocational Training, NIOSH, HRDC dan sebagainya. Okay, now, lepas tu you tengok on the screen that we also have our representative in SOCSU, and we also have employers which are of our members lah, being represented by our wakil di SOCSU Appellate Board, ya, TVET dan sebagainya. Okay, now, apabila kita menyatakan that we are a representative of Malaysian employees at the regional level, just to show you that these two associations ataupun confederations, ya, is of course di peringkat ASEAN kita pun ada EOS. EOS is a short form for employees organizations within the ASEAN nations themselves. Jadi MEF is a founder member of this, ya. MEF is also a founder member of CAPE, Confederation of Asia Pacific Employers, merangkumi tadi tu ASEAN, ya, ASEAN di perairan ASEAN. Ini di perairan Asia Pasifik, ya, merangkumi even EOS in New Zealand, di Australia dan di sekitar kita, ya. Alright, now di peringkat international pula, MEF is a member of IOE, International Organization of Employers, which is orang kata di peringkat antarabangsa lah, ada melebihi 140 buah negara yang mempunyai EOS, ya. They are also members of IOE. Jadi Malaysia ni sebenarnya telah mendapat pengiktirafan I think about a few years back lah, 2 years pun melebihi dalam, saya rasa dalam 6-7 tahun, 8 tahun macam tu. Malaysia telah dipilih, the president of MEF telah dipilih sebagai chairman or the president of IOE, ya, menunjukkan pengiktirafan EOS, ya, di peringkat serata dunia di bawah IOE telah melantik Malaysia sebagai chairman of IOE. Dan every year kita mengambil bahagian di dalam ILC, which is the International Labour Conference, yang dihadiri oleh tripartite ni tadi, kerajaan, employees dan employees representatives di seluruh dunia di dalam ILC. Okay. So we participate in the various government dialogues di Malaysia dan we make representation on various matters. Contohnya macam dengan MOF, Ministry of Finance. Contohnya dengan Ministry of Higher Education. Contohnya dengan Ministry of MITI, ya. Juga dengan KDN dan sebagainya. Di mana sebagai saya nyatakan di awal tadi, kita membawa all the issues raised by our members in particular dan employers at large at the various government dialogues. Inilah tadi kita nyatakan business needs, ya, bukan hanya HR issues. Okay. Jadi sekarang ni saya move to MEF services to members. Okay, now as an association, tak mungkin kita tak ada ahli. Okay, jadi sekarang ni MEF, kita, the pillars of MEF is actually kita punya members, ahli-ahli. Di mana membership for MEF is not mandatory. Kalau mandatory, tak payah cerita lah, kita tak payah buat membership dah ni. Tapi it is voluntary. Bermaksud, companies di luar sana, if you need our services to represent you, ya, untuk consultation, ya, terutamanya you are most encouraged to join us as members. Okay, jadi these are the 5 main services that we provide to members. Okay, of course, number 1, IR. Okay, that is the core. Kebanyakannya orang join MEF because they would like to get a clear answer to their problems pertaining to employment matters. Okay, so jadi we have a very strong IR team. Yeah, our IR team ni very experienced people. We even engage those people yang the ex-chairman of Industrial Court to be in our team. Okay, to strengthen the IR services. Yeah. Okay, now kita juga ada big data research and information. Jadi for whatever issues yang melibatkan the interest of employers, sama ada kita buat survey, kita gather data, and then we tabulate and analyze, we come up with a statement based on the data. Okay? Dan juga kita keluarkan buku-buku research, the surveys that we do. Okay, nanti saya explain further. Lepas tu IT. IT ni of course zaman sekarang ni high-tech kan. Jadi banyak perkara yang kita tak keluarkan secara physical anymore. It is all online. Ya, nanti I will touch on that too. Okay, OSH. Of course, we have Tuan Haji Anis Fahmy, our OSH, our experienced OSH consultant, who will address you on the very important matters, the highlights, because OSH Act ni ada amendments which ramai orang yang macam tak ambil tahu sangat. Padahalnya the consequences tu quite big lah. Jadi nanti you listen to Tuan Haji Anis Fahmy punya presentation later on. And last but not least is training. Ya. As I mentioned tadi, we are a registered, I did not mention, tapi kita ada wakil di HRDC. Dan MEF is actually a registered training provider with HRD, HRDC. Okay, now, so sekarang ni, you must be thinking at the back of your mind, okay, what is MEF membership Puan Hasina is talking about? Okay, macam ni lah. Normally, my team, which is the front line lah, ini kalau macam company tu bukan member, but they would like to seek advice, they will call MEF. Ini dah panik lah ni. Telefon perhaps a labor office ke whatsoever, tapi macam rasa macam I'm not satisfied lah with the answer, contohnya lah. Or maybe your friend or your contacts or your network was telling you, you susah hati buat apa, why don't you call MEF? Jadi kita ni banyak terima calls, ada orang yang dah panik-panik sebab dia dah ada industrial court case, so dia dah jumpa lawyer sana, jumpa lawyer sini, tapi macam not in their favour lah contohnya. Jadi, diorang call MEF. Jadi, selalunya, kita punya receptionist will screen. Bukan member, dia hantar ke membership team untuk kita perjelaskan what is MEF membership. Okay. Jadi, ini. Jadi, sebelum saya meneruskan lagi for MEF membership, let me just explain to you clearly. Kalau you are our member, kita ada 2 types of services. One is free. Free, semua orang suka free. Okay, free based services. Dan juga ada satu lagi kategori which is free based services. Okay, perkataan free tu do not scare you because our fees are actually very minimally charged lah. Because MEF ni kita sebagai sebuah persatuan yang tidak mendapat mana-mana grant dari mana-mana pihak. Okay, jadi we've got to run our services and activities. Mana yang free, kita boleh bagi free. Mana yang fee, we will charge you minimally. Okay, now, let me just explain to you what this slide is all about. Okay, kalau free, the R is there, free-based services, we will provide you advice, guidance by phone, email, fax, members portal, face-to-face. That one is free. You boleh datang, make appointment with a consultant in our office, do not get them to go to your office. That will be consultation at members' premises. Jadi you come to our office, okay? Lepas tu kita juga give you regularly email blasting. Okay, our email blasting banyak. Okay, number one, probably kita punya meeting notices, meeting in terms of the minutes dan sebagainya. Kita juga email blast to you on our training programs. Kita juga regularly email blast to you on if there are any new announcements by the government authorities, yeah, okay, dan juga other interesting programs of collaboration lah contohnya. Jadi kita regularly email blast to you. Okay, lepas tu another free based services ni will be kalau you would like us to give you our opinion on a simple document lah, simple document. Misalnya kata letter of appointment that you have already been using for years kan. Lepas tu kata, after you have listened to our session kan, to our talk, why not, I give this document to MF lah. Nak tengok whether it is in line with the HR yang sepatutnya dan sebagainya kan. Jadi simple written opinion boleh lah, that one is free. Kalau complicated sikit, then you may have to pay a little bit lah, complicated tu because kadang-kala, you know lah, when you talk to our consultant, nanti there are opinions, there are new things that, you know, you need to adjust dan sebagainya. Tapi simple itu opinion, okay, I think it is okay, macam tu boleh. Lepas tu monthly meetings is also free. Okay, now, I know that most of you out there, you are already in the HR line, ataupun you are the employer, the sole proprietor yourself. Jadi bukan hari-hari you ada masalah, not every time you have problems lah. Jadi sekarang ni, you make use of MEF monthly meetings as your learning platform. Because kita punya monthly meetings ni is, we call it interactive platform. Jadi sekarang ni, kita monthly meetings kita memang buat online. Okay, bila kita buat online ni, in which normally our meeting agenda would be perhaps the first half an hour or 1 hour, ada talk lah. Misalnya kata sekarang ni, we talk about macam EA amendments kan. Mungkin kita boleh bagi some highlights ataupun kita akan jemput orang daripada, speaker daripada JTK dan sebagainya. Just half an hour to give you some briefs on that. Lepas tu kadang-kadang ada interesting court case, you know. Jadi kita akan just brief dan setengah-setengah. Lepas tu kita akan follow with the agenda of the meeting lah, current disputes discussion. Okay. Jadi this is a kind of platform that the interaction is there. You will update your knowledge on the latest HR punya issues lah. Okay. Maybe kita tidak menafikan some of you when you are employed with your company, you have brought with you your wealth of experience. You are a graduate in HR you know, in all dan sebagainya. But the monthly meetings ni, it is a platform for you to learn and relearn new things. Okay. Lepas tu free lagi ialah apabila you are our member, 4 persons within your organisation will be given the kita panggil MEF Members Portal access lah. Okay. Di mana sekarang ni kalau katakan you have to activate and log on lah. Okay, now lepas tu lagi satu WhatsApp group lah. WhatsApp group ni orang kata semenjak PKP di MCOs kita orang kata tak boleh elak lah daripada create the WhatsApp group. Jadi it is interactive, tapi kena ada persefahaman lah, in which kalau those of you in the WhatsApp group lebih-lebih pukul lepas office pukul 8, pukul 9, pukul 10 malam tak payahlah WhatsApp kan. Jadi and then in the WhatsApp group tu yang kita tak adalah jual-jual barang ke whatsoever, you know, selamat pagi, assalamualaikum, pagi-pagi, no. It is purely WhatsApp group meant for business, untuk IR issues. Pertanyaan, you know, our consultants ada manage the group lah. Okay, now I talk to you on fee. Fee ni, of course, kalau kata nasib tak baik, you ada court representation cases lah. Jadi, you memerlukan MEF to represent you in court cases. Okay, court sini bermaksud industrial court dengan labor court sahaja. Kalau kata go to higher court, you've got to engage a lawyer dekat luar sana. Okay, tapi kita akan bagi cadangan lah. Okay, that one will be chargeable. And I mentioned to you tadi minimally. Kalau kata you bukan our member, you have court cases, you've got to helter-skelter lah, carilah the best lawyer for you outside there untuk menang your case. Contohnya lah tapi bukan ada guarantee lah you menang ke tidak. And then the charges will be exorbitantly lah. Okay, now. Lepas tu kita juga for you yang ada we call it conciliation cases at IR department, okay, we can also represent you di bawah IR Act. Kalau tak silap saya, only MEF is allowed lah. You tak boleh ambil lawyer you, datang dengan you pergi IR court cases, conciliation semua tu. Jadi this one will be chargeable. Okay, yang kedua, consultancy packages. Consultancy packages ni ada banyak kategori. Okay, salah satu ni kita boleh buat HR audit, OS audit, which nanti Tuan Haji Anis Fahmy pun boleh mention to you. Okay, kita orang kata boleh macam katakan custom made lah. Di mana lagi satu consultancy packages ni kalau macam kata you ada handbook, dah ada handbook, you would like us to review, update, translate dan sebagainya, that falls under consultancy packages. Okay. Kita consultancy ni kita tak ada fixed price lah, maksudnya nanti kita ada range of dia punya fees, but kalau it depends on the complexity of your document kan, sama ada we start from scratch atau you already have you punya you punya document, you would like us to review, itu nanti kita bagi harga lah, dari range of harga. If it's agreeable, on. Kalau it's not agreeable, you try to negotiate, tak boleh, you rasa you tak sanggup, then that's it lah. Okay, now, lepas tu, okay, fee based juga, kita ada seminars. Webinars ada yang berbayar, because dulu kita banyak courses online dan sebagainya. Seminars is of course, macam sekarang ni, my team, kita tengah, pun kata, nationwide lah, kita buat tax seminar, joint venture dengan lembaga hasil. Jadi macam kemarin kita buat di Kuala Terengganu, next week will be in Penang, and then so on, awal bulan Jun semua tu kita akan buat di Sabah, Sarawak, Johor dan KL. Okay, nanti watch out lah in our website ataupun our social media platform. Okay, yang ini berbayar. Okay, kita yang ni untuk seminar, training dengan publications, yang ni bukan member pun boleh, tapi kita ada different fee. Okay, now lepas tu seminar, webinar, conferences kita, because we are a registered training provider with HRDC, they are claimable. Participation are claimable. Okay, now, training kita ada MEF Academy. Okay, MEF Academy kita run programs. As a registered training provider, kita buat program daripada short courses, short certification courses, kita buat diploma, degree, masters pun ada. Okay, now, and then kita pay training ni ada dua kategori. Satu is public, satu lagi is in-house training. In-house training kita buat Q&A, training analysis, where we can customize to your requirement. Lepas tu kita juga ada publications. Publication juga kita jual pada members and non-members with different rate lah. Okay, I hope this one is clear. Now, tapi orang kata to summarize tadi, as I mentioned, IR services tu, kita ada advisory by phone, fax dan sebagainya, WhatsApp group, court representation, conciliation, monthly meetings. Kita juga buat training on IR and HR audit. I can assure you that kita punya training on IR ni memang mendapat sambutan yang sangat baik. Because every time bila kita buat public training courses on IR matters, memang cepat saja fully packed. Jadi you just watch out dalam kita punya website on our upcoming courses, you tengok, because saya rasa because the work speaks by itself. Because kita pun dah 64 tahun di Malaysia ni, dan IR tu is our, orang kata, makanan kita lah. Jadi memang MEF punya the trainers in IR memang, orang kata, so-called lah, the best in the market lah, so-called. Okay, lepas tu kita ada juga buat HR and IR audit. Okay, now, lepas tu I move on to Big Data Research and Information Services. Nama dia pun Big Data, jadi memang kita kumpul banyak data melalui survey. Okay, Dan kita juga ada a mini resource unit lah. Jadi kalau macam you book, okay, normally members lah dia datang dia nak buat reference, perhaps kita punya buku-buku research yang kita publish dan sebagainya, dia boleh datang dan buat rujukan in our resource center. Lepas tu kita juga mengeluarkan inflation rate ke CPI dan sebagainya, economic dan labor data. Okey, ini buku-buku yang saya tunjukkan contoh, the one that we publish. Jadi macam buku-buku MEF ni, okay, bear in mind that they are exclusively available in MEF saja. Tak ada dekat bookstore di luar. Jadi buku-buku ni as I mentioned, member, non-member, kita buka, boleh jual dan harga berbeza. Kalau you are a member, you participate in our survey, ada further discount. Discount dia banyak. Okay, nanti later on you boleh contact MEF to get more information on this. But just to let you know, the salary survey series kita ni, saya rasa siri yang ke-27 atau ke-28 dah kita keluarkan. Every year we come out with these survey reports. Salary survey. Jadi, the findings of our salary survey ni are being quoted by Bank Negara Report, are being quoted by Maida, because kita akan keluarkan satu maklumat yang for employers out there, dia nak tahu what is the market or the market practice of, kata contohnya you are in, katalah tourism, you are in hotel ke apa benda. Jadi dalam survey book kita tu ada apa gaji supervisor ke, apa gaji you punya housekeeper dan sebagainya. Jadi sebab tu kita ada keluarkan dua. Satu is for non-executive, satu is for executive. Jadi it serves as a guide. Jadi this is a very useful book. And setiap tahun dalam bulan 11 kita akan keluarkan, kita akan buat satu media conference. Kita akan come up with the highlights of the findings of our survey. Dan juga kita akan keluarkan the projection of bonus payment dan juga the projection of increment for companies, private sector companies. Jadi tengoklah nanti untuk sekarang ni kita masih jual 2021. Untuk the market trend for 2022 kita buat survey. Saya rasa akan launch lah the survey. Jadi saya rasa dalam 2 bulan macam tu. Lepas tu our team, the research big data team, will collate, they will tabulate, analyze, then we come up with the publications. Okay, now, ini buku-buku lain lah, yang kita jual di MEF saja. Okay, now, yang ini pula ialah IR series. Tadi itu economic series, ini IR series. Macam contohnya buku-buku macam probationers and the law, kita compile all the cases. Because as you know, as I mentioned tadi, our IR team is very good, is very strong. Di mana kita ada those people yang very experienced, they are the authors of this book. We come up with the compilation of cases, lepas tu kita akan comment dan buat saranan. Jadi bukan kata a normal textbook yang you find lepas tu you interpret sendiri, tidak. Okay, now lepas tu contohnya buku yang hijau ni, practical guide ni, okay, ini satu buku yang perlu ada lah dekat meja you. Because saya tahu zaman sekarang ni orang suka-suka online ke, e-copy, itulah buku-buku yang online. Tapi buku ini very useful, you bawa lah ke mana-mana. Because the name is Practical Guide. Jadi Practical Guide to Human Resources Management, buku ni sangat-sangat relevan. Dan rasa-rasanya it is the best lah. Saya tak tahu di luar sana kalau ada buku yang the Practical Guide itself. Because as I mentioned to you, the authors are our people in-house dan kita buat commentary dan for every case yang terlibat dengan ni. Tapi practical guide ni, this is a very useful book, very handy. Okay, now academy pula. Okay, MEF Academy ni sebenarnya kita pun ada website dia. Okay, dia sebenarnya a subsidiary of MEF, governed by our BOD lah. Okay, lepas tu mereka sama dengan kita di bawah satu bumbung. Kita buat training, kebanyakan kita punya training are in-house. Tapi certain courses yang kita tak ada expertise, kita juga engage external consultant. Alright, now, so the type of courses that kita undertake, that kita organize, would be, of course, HRM, HRD. Saya percaya outside there are many trainers offering the courses, ya. Tapi macam MEF punya ni, as I mentioned, kita ada in-house expert. Kita gabungkan sekali dengan pengalaman diorang. Lepas tu, dan MEF ni, as you know, every day memang kita deal dengan employment matters lah. Jadi banyak yang cases kita boleh cite in our training dan sebagainya. Lepas tu, on IR, on OSH, kita ada buat, itulah public dengan, we call it in-house courses, customized, based on the P&A of the companies. Kita juga collaborate with industry specialist. Ini yang macam saya katakan tadi, kalau kita tak ada in-house expert, kita ambil industry specialist untuk bergabung dengan kita to come out with programs lah. Lepas tu academic program ni, diploma certification courses, dan juga kita ada executive diploma and certificate, dan juga kita ada conference and seminars. Okay, now, so other in MEF events, macam sekarang ni kita online banyak. This one practical implementation of EA ni, memang kita buat nationwide lah. Jadi you should grab lah, because EA ni is a very important aspect of which as a HR practitioner you should get yourself familiarized with the amendments that are enforced sekarang ni kan. Okay, lepas tu yang ni MEF tax webinar. Webinar last year 2022, tapi sekarang ni seminar tahun ni. Okay, sekarang ni tengah ongoing. Tengok info tu di dalam kita punya website dan juga our social media platform. Ini kita take part in exhibition lah right now. Okay, membership ni, okay sekejap. There are two classes of membership, ordinary dan association. Jadi single company dengan group. Okay, apa single company tu? Kalau company you, Sdn Berhad, straightforward lah, ataupun Sdn Berhad you ada branches, tapi carry the same name. Okay, it falls under single company. Kalau group ni, contohnya you are holding company, you ada subsidiary. Subsidiaries you tu maybe bawa nama lain lah. Macam XYZ Berhad. Lepas tu subsidiary tu XYZ Marketing Sdn Berhad. Okay. Provided the HR functions of XYZ Marketing Sdn Berhad tu refers to the holding company tu, you can opt to join as a group. Jadi yang ni memang you all untung. Sebab kita kira headcount to calculate how much you've got to pay for our fee. Okay, yang ni contohnya annual subscription kita is being determined by the total workforce. Jadi sekarang ni by head count lah. Jadi entrance fee it is a one-off payment. Bila you join kita sekali saja dia bayar 500 macam processing fee lah. Annual subscription nama dia pun annual lah, jadi setiap tahun you bayar. Jadi kita ada ikut per head. Kalau kata company you ada 120 orang contoh jadi you the first 100 kali RM10 1,000. 20 orang tu kali RM8 160. Jadi you've got to pay 1,160 campur 500. This is for the first time payment. Okay. Tapi kalau kata ya company you sebenarnya company kecil je puan. Saya ada 5 orang je tapi saya nak join MEF lah. Okay. That one you subject to minimum of 1,000. Kalau 5 orang kita kali RM10 baru RM50 kan. Tapi it is subject to minimum 1,000. 1,000 for a year is orang kata apa RM83 je lah sebulan. Okay, now. Lepas tu, lepas the first 300 tu RM1 je seorang. Kalau kata you ada 350 orang staff. So the first 100 times RM10, RM1,000. Second 100 kali RM8, RM800. The third 100 kali RM6, RM600. Jadi campur 1,800, campur 800, campur 600, 2,400. 50 orang tadi, because we ada 350 orang kan, is only RM50 after the first 100. Okay, jadi macam tu. Alright. Now, okay, kita pun ada association. Kalau kata you are online sekarang ni, you fall under the umbrella of any industry group, you boleh minta you punya association to join us as member. Yang ini dia punya explanation tu panjang sikit tapi tak payah, saya just tunjuk dekat you what are the industry group. Kalau you ada would like to seek clarification, okay, please give us a call or email to us. Nanti kita boleh explain. Jadi sekarang ni kita ada various industry and employers group yang masuk MEF as association member. Kita ada insurance, kita ada commercial banks, hotels, chamber of commerce, plastic manufacturers, timber, Okey. Ni pengusaha restoran, industri keselamatan, apa tu, engineering and machinery, hotel dan sebagainya. Okay, now. Sekarang ni kita punya members ordinary lah, company ni macam saya cakapkan tadi, it is not mandatory, it is voluntary. Sebab companies ni memerlukan services of MEF. Jadi kita ada dalam 6,600 lebih lah sekarang and still growing slowly but steadily. Dan juga kita punya membership per se, in which association dengan ordinary members kita, dia punya apa tu workforce dalam 2.9 million lah. Dulu lebih, but because of banyak downsizing berlaku. Dulu 3.1 million banyak downsizing dan pengecutan lah of workforce. Jadi kita dah kurang sikit, tapi kita punya members cover around 2.9 million private sector employees in Malaysia. Jadi ni location of kita punya membership lah. Macam saya mention tadi, yang ni ada logo-logo MEF ni ialah di mana kita punya location of our regional office. Dan kita sekarang ni HQ di sini Petaling Jaya. Okay, jadi kita ada new member incentive. Okay, this incentive sebenarnya daripada 1 Mac hari tu sampai 30 Jun. Bermakna you online sekarang ni, participants online, after this event you by words of mouth lah, you mention to your friend, you join lah MEF, we will give you incentive. It's a reward of RM450 per introducer lah. Tapi sekarang ni kalau kata you ajak company you yang join, you will not be entitled for that lah. Cuma kalau company lain, okay. Jadi yang ni pun kalau you nak tanya, you can email to us mef membership@mef.org.my or phone this number, call this number. Okay, now. Jadi itu saja from me, in which please like, follow our social media platforms dan juga any inquiries, general inquiries on membership on MEF, ini kita punya email address. Senang je, one word, make it one word, also apa tu, small letters, MEF membership@mef.org.my, and visit our portal for public portal lah, information pasal kita punya activities dan sebagainya, or call us at HQ. Okay, ini saja yang saya nak sampaikan on our role, functions and services. Okay, ni sekarang ni saya nak pass the line over to Tuan Haji Anis Fahmy. For the time being, we just take a break 2 minit. Kalau siapa nak pergi toilet ke, nak pergi ambil air ke. Okay. Terima kasih. Alright. Okay, just before Tuan Haji Anis Fahmy starts his presentation, just a brief introduction. Tuan Haji Anis Fahmy is our OSH consultant, have been with MEF I think for the almost 20 tahun Tuan Haji, and very experienced man in terms of OSH. Has obtained his master's degree, a certified trainer for OSH with HRDC, very extensive experience, dan beliau juga, as I mentioned, boleh buat the OSH audit. If let's say if you're keen to have your OSH punya aspect in your organisation to be audited, boleh discuss dengan Tuan Haji Anis Fahmy. So with that, saya serahkan pada Fahmy. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, terima kasih Puan Haslina, Hajah Haslina for the kind introduction. Before we proceed with the session, is the audio clear? Can you hear my voice? Can I get some feedback? Is the line clear? Okay. The topic for today is on Occupational Safety and Health Amendment Act 2022, which is a hot topic now, and a lot of employers are preparing their organization to conform to this Occupational Safety and Health Act. It's going to be a 1 hour briefing, so I hope that you bear with me, and I'll try to share as much as possible what are the new highlights that would be affecting companies in terms of safety and health. And at the end of the session, if there are any questions, then we can discuss on any subject matter related to the amendment. So, as we all know, the Occupational Safety and Health Act are governed under DOSH, the Department of Occupational Safety and Health. And basically, DOSH, they enforce two laws. First one is Occupational Safety and Health, and the other one is Factory and Machinery Act. And of course, there's another one, which is a safety measure under Petroleum Act. But majority of employers, they need to subscribe or conform to OSHA Act. And if you are a factory or you have machineries, then you need to comply to the Factory and Machinery Act. So these are the importance date. Please bear the dates in mind. The amendment already royal assented on the 4th of March 2022, tahun lepas. Sudah pun diperkenankan oleh Duli Yang Maha Mulia Sri Paduka Baginda Yang di-Pertuan Agong. And after the royal assent, then the Gazette was published on 16 March 2022. So it is there. The law is ready. The amendment is ready to take place. But what we are waiting for now is the enforcement date. And according to DOSH, tentative, but it is still tentative. Tentative, the enforcement will take place this year, June. So we have less than 1 month to get prepared on all of the implementation under the OSHA Act. So this is still intact and in place. Yesterday, I did have some conversation with the DOSH officer. Tentatively, it's going to be June, but whether on the date, the specific date for implementation and enforcement yet to be determined. We were not sure yet. So the amendment, not the amendment. The OSHA Act is a self-regulatory law. So the way it is written, the approach by the authority when they come for enforcement for the OSHA Act is self-regulatory. Whereas the Factory and Machinery Act, which is another act that is enforced by DOSH, it is a prescriptive document, prescriptive legal requirement, meaning to say detail, what to do, how to do, measurement, prescription are in detail. That's why if you look at the text, it's almost, I think, around 500 to 600 pages long. Whereas the OSHA Act is based on self-regulatory. What to do are there, but how to do, then the government gives some flexibility for the employer to decide based on the approach of as far as practicable. But since we are dealing with an amendment, we have to bear in mind also, once the amendment take place, concurrently secara serentak, the Factory Machinery Act will be revoked. Factory Machinery Act will be revoked. Bermaksud in the future, the General Provision Act, we will only have one, which is OSHA 2020 Acts. We don't know what date it's going to be, so for the time being, we don't have the specific name of that law. So if the amendment takes place, the Factory and Machinery Act will be revoked. Akan ditarik, ditarik balik lah. So these are things that will come in the near future. So whatever provision peruntukan which is under the Factory Machinery Act enforced now will be migrated. It will be migrated to be under the ambit of the new law, OSHA Act 2020 Acts. So it will be migrated. So in the future, we will only have one single general provision for OSHA. So we will have only a single act. No more Factory and Machinery Act. Whatever is under the Factory Machinery Act will be migrated to the OSHA Act. So when that happens, then the approach will be self-regulatory. So the whole entire legal system for OSH will be on the basis of self-regulatory. So what do we mean by self-regulatory? Apa yang dimaksudkan dengan peraturan kendiri? So the element that I will share is based on a document published by the authority, and MEF co-chair the committee that developed this guideline or note, guidance note. So we have this nota panduan peraturan kendiri di tempat kerja. It was published in 2021 under the OSH Master Plan, spearheaded by DOSH. So when we say self-regulatory, what do we mean? So these are the elements that you have to take into consideration before you claim that, yes, we are a self-regulatory company complying to OSHA Act. So number one, whatever you do, it must be based on the law. It must be based on the section, the regulation that is gazetted and enforced by the authority. So for the time being, it's OSHA Act. For the time being, it's OSHA Act 1994. But later, when the amendment takes place, then whatever you do must be based on that new piece of law. And people must be accountable. So the company needs to identify who are the key players, who will be ensuring that the specific section 15, section 16, section 17, 18, section 32 of the Act are complied with. You need to appoint somebody, or you need somebody within the top rank of the organization to be accountable, for specific section and regulation. And then you need to make sure that your organization satisfies section 16, which is to establish and maintain an OSH policy. So this OSH policy is a reflection of the organization in complying to the law. So whatever you do within your organization must be based on what you have committed yourself in the OSH policy. So the company needs to make sure that you have a policy in place, written and publicized to all stakeholders. Number one. Number two, the company is supposed to be able to demonstrate that it has a workable OSH management system. And currently, the OSH management system recognized by DOSH is the ISO 45001. So if you can subscribe to that, and then you can showcase or reflect to the authority that yes, we have a workable, effective management system on OSH. So that's pillar number 2. Pillar number 3, consequence management. So if there's any off tangent that happen within the system, then you must take action to ensure that it goes back on track. It goes back on track. So this can be in the form of conducting audit, safety and health audit, conducting safety inspection on site, having some group that goes around and identify hazard, collecting data, collecting statistic trend to ensure that your management system and also your practice are within the ambit of the law and also the management system itself. So consequence management is talking about ensuring whatever you say you do. And number 3, in order for you to ensure that it works, then you need to have KPI, key performance indicators. So these key performance indicators can be in the form of lagging indicator, such as fatality rate, severity rate, or it can be in the form of leading indicator, conducting training, how many numbers of training conducted, numbers of inspection conducted, and what are the feedback from the worker taken into effect. So those would be KPI. It can be in either in a departmental KPI, in the form of departmental KPI, even better if it is an individual KPI. So that would be the 4th pillar. And check and balance here, whatever you do, whatever you measure can be checked by anybody. It can be by the safety committee, it can be by the authority, it can be by the external auditors, internal auditors. So you have that mechanism to check and balance what you have conducted. And finally, competency. Competency, and if you have any incidences, then it is supposed to be reported to the authority internally or externally. And competency here is referring to people at work. People at work, whether or not they are competent to perform. If you are not competent, then you are not supposed to even start the work, because sooner or later you will get injured due to accident. So all of these 5 component or element here: policy, OSH management system, consequence management, KPI, key performance indicators, and measurement, check and balance, competency and reporting is the element that you need to have for you to claim that the organization is self-governing or self-regulating itself. So if you have all of this in place, workable, working effectively, efficiently, then only you can say that, yes, we have self-managed or self-regulatory within our workplace, which is incongruent with the OSHA Act, which is by itself is a self-regulatory piece of law. Okey, jadi inilah elemen-elemen yang kena ada lah, akan datang, yang mana syarikat perlu adakan, sebab akan datang undang-undang bukan lagi bergantung harap kepada pegawai JKKP sahaja, datang untuk semak baru kita nak betulkan. No longer like that, but we are supposed to be proactively enhancing, increasing our safety and our performance based on the element that we have just discussed here. Okay, these are the details of the element. So your policy must be a self-regulatory policy. Some element of self-regulation is supposed to be integrated into your existing OSH management system policy. And of course, as I mentioned, please go and try to implement as much as possible the OSH management system element, which is in the ISO 45001, to reflect that your company has a workable management system. For the time being, having an OSH management system is not mandatory. It is more to client-driven, it is more to corporate-driven requirement. But as far as the law is concerned, OSH management system is not yet a regulation. But so it's not mandatory for you to be certified under NECB for the certification body for the time being. But you know, who knows? In the future, this can change because later on they are expecting the company to be able to manage safety and health because the law is self-regulatory. It can be mandated later on. Who knows? Okay, under the consequence management, you need to, if you are off tangent, if there are any gaps within your implementation, then you need to correct the issue now, and then have some plan to prevent it from reoccurring in the future. And of course, if there are any gaps in the law implementation, then you need to ensure that it is addressed properly and swiftly. You cannot let it be for many months not being settled. So you have to make sure that whatever is within the law is your minimum requirement. So whatever of tangent from the law itself, then quickly, swiftly discuss within the management rank and try to ensure that you implement it properly. That's why it's crucial. It is advisable that you come out with your in-house OSH legal register, OSH legal register. So you know what are the requirements, who is responsible to do what are the completion date. So these are, so it's supposed to be in your legal register. Okay, so as I mentioned, you need to establish also a leading indicator, lagging indicator. Leading is referring to something that you want to improve in the future based on past trends and based on current development. Lagging, say, historical data. It can be your accident numbers. It can be your occupational poisoning numbers. It can be your occupational disease numbers based on your past performance. And so that's what we mean here by leading and lagging indicator. And of course, when you can measure something, you can determine whether or not you are progressively improving your system, your performance, your OSH performance, your culture, and so on. So that's would be under KPI and measurement. And of course, whatever you do, you need to monitor. You need to monitor. You must be able to pinpoint the OSH performance that you intend to improve. You are able to improve, and you have numbers to prove that you have improved. So that is why company, it is important that if you have the resources, then establish an audit team, an OSH audit team, internal inspector, and also from time to time, whatever you do, discuss with your subject matter expert. So these are the things that you have to make sure that is in place once later the OSH amendment takes place and take effect. Okay, and in terms of competency, should the amendment takes place, the workplace either need to have a safety and health officer, or you need to have an OSH coordinator. For companies under the safety and health officer order, then you need to make sure that the safety and health officer are in place and take action to renew their license from year to year, depending on their CP point. So these are the things that later on the law will focus. You need to have a safety officer for those company under the safety and health officer order. And for the rest of us, having 5 employee and above, you like it or not, the law requires you to have an OSH coordinator. So an OSH coordinator is a position, is an individual that will be the bridge between the company and DOSH. DOSH is the Department of Occupational Safety and Health. And of course, the person is supposed to be having some OSH competency that need to be reflected in the OSH performance in the implementation. And so for companies out there, take note, if you have more than 5, ada lebih 5 orang setempat lah, maka perlu ada seorang penyelaras keselamatan dan kesihatan pekerjaan. Ini yang paling hangat sekarang lah. Kita nak pastikan syarikat ada OSH coordinator. Setiap syarikat tu dia ada sekurang-kurangnya satu OSH coordinator untuk memenuhi peruntukan undang-undang baru ini. And of course, reporting is another requirement. Internal reporting within the company, and in the event you have any mishap, you have an accident, you have dangerous occurrence, occupational poisoning and disease. If it is work-related, it is mandatory by law to be reported to DOSH. Okay, so make sure that the company later on, if you have yet to assign or appoint any SHO or OSH coordinator, make sure you do that soon. And carilah seorang, kalau SHO tu definitely lah you need to get those who are already registered with DOSH lah, or you can send somebody for training. But for the rest, 5 people and above, which is not under the list of the SHO order, then start to think and plan to send somebody for the OSH coordinator training. And you can discuss this with our MEFA Academy, because we are running the OSH coordinator program for our members with the collaboration with MSOSH, Malaysian Society for OSH. Okay, so and of course the other one, kalau berlaku kemalangan kena lapor lah, kena pastikan pelaporan itu dibuat kepada pihak JKKP. Okay, now I'm moving to the specific. This is the layout lah, of what's going to happen. So now let's go to the specific of the law itself. So this the blue column, that one is existing law. Existing law. The one highlighted in yellow, that one is totally a new part under the amendment. So the blue is in the Principal Act now, OSHA Principal Act, but the yellow one is new. So if you look at the yellow one, there's a requirement for company to notify. Notify what? Place of work. You need to notify where you are, what is your premise address, and so on. But of course, we have yet to know the detail, because normally DOSH will come out with a prescribed list. Ada senarai lah jenis-jenis perusahaan, perniagaan yang perlu memaklumkan pihak JKKP lah. As we know, under Factory Machinery Act, that's the case lah. Kilang, construction site, they have to notify DOSH. Not just a place of work, but also machineries. For example, a construction site with a crane. So the crane must be notified to the authority, because the crane need to have a CF, certificate of fitness. So you can see here later, the law requires the workplace to be notified, the workplace to notify DOSH of its existence. Machineries, machineries also you need to notify DOSH of the whereabout lah, kat mana machine tu dan sebagainya. So this is the new part, the new part inserted into OSHA Act lah. And the rest, you can see there are a lot of amendments for every part. For example, here under preliminary, you can see there are 6 amendment in the form of substitution, meaning something in the preliminary being substituted, either a word, can be a term, and so on. And 4 are deleted, dipadamkan, tidak lagi diguna pakai. And there are about 12, precisely 12. 12 new. It can be a word, it can be a term, it can be a provision inserted into the first part, so on and so forth. So that you can see here, I've done here the analysis. So in total, if you look at the amendment, there are three types of amendment done. Substitution, something of the existing text being substituted. Number two, something of the existing text being deleted and inserted, meaning new provision being incorporated into the Principal Act. And this is also new, competent person and registered training provider. Here, the part is talking about companies to have specific competent person. Tadi saya dah sebut, which is the OSH coordinator. That's number one. And for other discipline also, like industrial hygiene, ergonomic, and so on. So you need to have competent person to practice. If not, you are not supposed to practice. Number two, training provider. There are certain knowledge, skill, and competency that needs to be done only with training provider, approved training provider. So you cannot simply send your staff later to any training provider. The training provider must be registered with DOSH, not just with HRD Corp, but also with JKKP. So take note, there are some activities or kompetensi, kemahiran yang jangan sembarangan hantar, perlu dihantar ke training provider, ke training provider yang diluluskan, diiktiraf oleh JKKP. Contoh, tadi itulah the OSH coordinator, yang itu jangan suka-suka hantar tu. You have to check with the register under DOSH, tengok is that training provider registered. If yes, then you can send your people. If not, it won't be recognized by DOSH. So sia-sia hantar 3 hari, balik sijilnya tidak diiktiraf, for example. So be careful out there, because nowadays people are desperate and scammers are out there, can do this such activity lah. Okay, and you can see lah. So the blue one is the existing law lah in the Principal Act. So you can see at every level, every part tu ada sahaja pindaan-pindaan yang dibuat lah. Okay, so in total, there are 53 substitution, 24 deletion, 43 insertion, and there are 2 new parts that is being incorporated into the OSHA Act. Okay, so now what you are supposed to do as a company. So if you are familiar with the OSHA Act, you have some implementation already done. Take note of this under section 15F. Companies are required to develop, implement procedures for dealing with emergency. So if you pay attention here, the word used is procedures. So what does it mean? So you cannot just be satisfied having one procedure, because commonly we are aware that a lot of companies, you do have the fire evacuation procedure. That is very common. But what about the other potential emergency that could occur in your company? Do you have specific procedure or not? So that is why now the law is emphasizing on having specific procedure, not just satisfied with having one procedure that can address fire safety, fire emergency. But what about the rest? I give you an example here. What about if you have an explosion? Do you have an SOP for that? Let's say you are in a prone natural disaster area, prone for flood. You have a procedure to evacuate your staff during flood. If you're in Shah Alam nowadays, don't take it for granted. Shah Alam, apa lagi tu? Raja Muda, Sri Muda area, Sungai Buloh. So in the event that you have a flood scenario, what are you supposed to do? So you need to have a procedure for that. So on and so forth. So you need to sit down look at the worst case scenario that can happen, and how do you respond to it. So no more copy and paste kind of SOP. It must be specific to your own unique potential hazardous situation. Itu yang pertama lah. Jadi ke company-company kena bersedialah dari segi mengadakan satu prosedur, prosedur bagaimana menghadapi kecemasan yang pelbagai. Yang pelbagai. Ini penting lah. Okay, moving on. Okay, another new development in terms of duties and role, apart from section 15, 16, and 17, which is the general role, the existing duty of employer, please take note, the new term used now is employer and principal. So there will be time a company will become a principal to a contractor. So let's say you appoint another company to do some work activity on your behalf. So at that point of time, your company becomes a principal. Your company become a principal because you engage another company as your contractor. So at that point of time, the principal provision under the law will take effect. So as a company, please not just observe section 15, which is the common general duties of employer, but please read it together with the provision of principal, because now the contractor, the subcontractor, whoever is performing the work for you becomes your responsibility. Ini perkembangan terbaru lah. Ada istilah principal lah. Principal ini maknanya bila kita memanggil orang lain buat kerja untuk kita lah. Bila dia buat kerja untuk kita, ada tanggungjawab kita lah sebagai principal tadi. Okay, so these are the detail about the contractor, the principal. Remember, whoever becomes your contractor, your subcontractor, indirect subcontractor, those are your responsibilities. You must treat them as you treat your own staff. So whatever you give, SOP, PPE, topi ke apa ke, must be of equivalent, tak boleh substandard dan sebagainya. Okay, section 16 is an existing provision, memang dah ada sekarang. The only thing that I want to highlight here, in the new amendment, the word or the term occupational is being inserted. So please take note that later you need to revise your policy to make sure that your policy has that occupational in front of the title. Pastikanlah dasar apa tu yang kita tulis itu ada perkataan occupational di hadapan sebab kan yang sekarang ni safety and health saja kan. If you look at majority lah, when I go around do audit and go to companies, it is a safety and health policy. Just add to the title occupational. And of course, as I have mentioned earlier, since the law is now totally self-regulation, your policy also must address that in its text. Dalam tulisan dia tu kena adalah sedikit unsur-unsur apa tadi tu self-regulatory. Insert element of self-regulatory. Okay, this is new. Ini pun peruntukan barulah. As a company, you need to make sure that you have established a procedure and you have conducted a risk assessment. A risk assessment related to the work. So companies shall conduct a risk assessment in relation to the safety health risk posed to any person who may be affected by the work, in particular the work. So risk assessment must be carried out. On top of that, you must have control measure, and that control measure, which is agreed upon by the team of the team that conduct the risk assessment, you have to acknowledge and start to make the implementation. It's not enough having a risk assessment exercise suggesting the control measure, but there's no action taken. So the law now requires you to have risk assessment, and you have to make sure that there are proper recommended control measure and they are workable and done. Jadi langkah-langkah kawalan tu perlu dibuat lah. So risk assessment means the process of evaluating the risk, meaning to say you look at the severity, you look at the likelihood or probability, and then you conclude whether or not the risk is low, the risk is moderate, or the risk is high. So based on your conclusion, high, moderate, low, then you have to put in place a control measure which is by the order of hierarchy, which I believe many practitioners are familiar with. Either you eliminate the hazard, you substitute the hazard, you put in place engineering control, you put in place administrative control, and complement whatever you do with a PPE, personal protective equipment, which is the last level of effective control measure, PPE. So that must be done, and the tool that you use can vary for the time being. You can either use HIRAC, you can either use GHA, whatever it is, because there's no hard and fast rule of doing this. Or for the time, you can use the guideline under HIRAC, HIRAC guideline under DOSH. So it is still open. We don't have a specific ICOP or a specific regulation to dictate what type of tool that you need to use. Then another thing is you have to make sure that the tool, whatever tool you use, are valid based on the hazard that you are trying to analyze. If you are analyzing physical hazard, then the right tool would be hazard ID, risk assessment and control, or under 45, determinant of control. So if you are dealing with chemical exposure, then the right tool to use is the chemical health risk assessment. If you are dealing with ergonomic risk factor, then the right tool is supposed to be ergonomic risk assessment, initial era and also the advanced era. So the tool that you use must be of valid, recognized, not just simply use one tool for all. One tool fit all types of hazard. So no, it must be specific to the type of hazard that you are encountering. Baik, if such amendment don't take place, you ignore what we have just discussed, then the penalty will be 500,000. 500,000 ringgit, which is which is severe now as compared to previously, as compared to currently. Sekarang 50,000, tetapi bila penguatkuasaan baru ini berlaku, maka dia naik 10 kali ganda. Denda-denda semua naik 10 kali ganda. 50,000 jadi 500,000, supaya ada sedikit apa ni dia panggil, kegentaran lah, orang gentar lah dengan kita punya denda kan, sebab sekarang ni 50,000 is anybody can pay lah. 50,000 is not a big number for now lah. So to deter people from violating, then they encourage, they have increased from 50 to 500,000. That's the maximum penalty lah, if you do not comply to what we have just discussed lah. Okay, another new topic or subject is on the insertion of right to the employees. So now, when you talk about Section 24, the duties of employee, which is to conform to the mematuhi peraturan to conform to the in-house rule, to cooperate with employer on safety and health, and to participate in safety and health implementation. It's not just that now. They have inserted a new term here, rights of employee. So we're not talking just about the duties of the employee, but it comes together with their rights. So the right that we are talking here is on their right to stop work. It's their right to stop work in the event that they are encountering or facing any imminent danger, bahaya yang besar yang menyebabkan mati dan sebagainya. So now the law permits the worker to stop work if such scenario happen. Okay, so these are the specific text. You can see an employee, after informing his employer or his representative that he has reasonable justification to believe that there exists an imminent danger. Imminent danger here is referring to death or serious bodily injury. So what do we mean by serious bodily injury? You have to refer to the schedule being stated, a schedule being inserted into this law. So that's a definition, which is imminent danger, which is referring to the list. Either it can be a serious bodily injury or death, either or. Right? So he has the right to remove himself. Jadi pekerja tadi tu dia boleh mengalihkan diri dia daripada suasana bahaya tadi itulah. So he can remove himself from the imminent danger, from the danger zone, but there's a condition. The condition is he must inform the employer. So he must inform the employer, and the employer need to settle the case now. Need to remove the danger from that place of work. If that is done, then he needs to continue working. If not, then he can remove himself. So this is new, not just in under OSHA, but also under Employment Act. This is now being inserted. So a worker kalau dia bekerja sampai boleh menyebabkan kematian dirinya ataupun mengalami kecederaan yang serius berdasarkan jadual yang ada dalam OSHA Act, maka dia dibenarkan untuk mengalih dirinya ataupun tidak menyambung tugas bahaya tersebutlah sampai bahaya itu dialih ataupun bahaya itu diselesaikan. So this is where it is important that you convey this message to the staff. They have the right. They have the right, and it is also important for companies to establish a stop work policy. So if that is clear between employer and employee, I think you will have a harmonious relationship. If not, then there will be a lot of issue because you didn't clear this out with the worker. Jadi pastikanlah, how do you address this? Number one, make sure that you have a stop work policy agreed by all, consented by the highest rank. Jadi siapa-siapa kontraktor ke pekerja ke bila dia hadapi tugas yang bahaya, maka dia tak takut untuk berhenti lah. So that because you have already implement the stop work policy. But number two, emphasize also to be fair to the employer, they need to report. You cannot simply remove yourself without communicating the issue to the employer. So they have to communicate. So make sure you have a proper procedure for this, so that it won't be a problematic scenario later on. Okay, so this is the summary of it. So in the event that the worker is encountering a dangerous situation, hazardous work that can cause him death or can cause him serious bodily injury, then he is supposed to talk. He is supposed to stop and inform the employer, and the employer must take concern and take action to remove the danger. And to remove the danger, put in place proper control measure based on the hierarchy of control, based on your hierarchy document, hazard identification, risk assessment and control. Then only the person should continue the work. If not, he is supposed to remove himself. And whatever he do, if it is in line with the text here, in line with this section here, then you cannot discriminate the person. You cannot discriminate the person because he is just upholding what is in the law. Okay, so if you discriminate the staff due to that or any other type of discrimination, then you will face 100,000 ringgit for discrimination. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, if the amendment takes place, then workplace need to notify DOS. If there's any contribution, then the fine will be 100,000 ringgit. You can, as you can see here, the majority of the fine tenfold, increased tenfold, but the penalty for imprisonment remain the same. It is on monetary that is being increased. Most of the provision here. Okay, moving on to the next section, section 29. This is something that HR need to take notice. Human resource manager and whoever is dealing with HR. Remember that when you appoint a safety officer to work for a company, that safety and health officer can only work as a safety officer at one place of work. Maknanya setempat. Dia tak boleh bersepah-sepah dia jaga, tak boleh. Dia kena duduk setempat. Only one place of work at one time. So you cannot be a safety officer taking care of 10 plant, 10 premises. Tak boleh. It must be one safety officer at any one given time at one location. So this is something that is being highlighted in the amendment. So take note, safety officer, please highlight this to your management. If you need to add on a new staff to become a safety officer because of these new changes, then highlight the case to the employer. Tak boleh nak jaga banyak tempat, melainkan diberi kebenaran oleh ketua pengarah JKKP. Kalau tidak, kena denda lah macam biasa lah, 50,000. Okay, this is the one that I was highlighting. So any workplace that employ 5 or more people, that workplace need to have one OSH coordinator, occupational safety and health coordinator. So this is something that you need to plan. HR kena rancang lah siapa nak jadi, kena hantar seorang pegawai sedia ada lah ke kursus contohnya 3 hari buat semua tugasan, automatik didaftarkan lah di bawah DKKP punya pendaftaran. Jadi selepas ini bagi syarikat yang 5 orang tidak ada safety officer, kena ada OSH coordinator. Kalau tidak, syarikat akan dikenakan denda RM50,000. And take note, safety health coordinator ini must be a Malaysian. You cannot appoint a foreigner to become an OSH coordinator. The criteria is the person must be a Malaysian, warga negara Malaysia, minimum academic qualification, SPM, or what's the other one? SPM and vocational. There's another certificate I can't remember. Sijil vocational Malaysia, minimum requirement, and the person has worked for the company 1 year at least, not necessarily in OSH, but has 1 year experience in the business or in the company. So that would be the basic requirement for you to enter training for OSH coordinator. So it's a 3-day training. When the person comes back, the company need to appoint him as the OSH coordinator, then he can start to practice his duty under the OSH coordinator position lah. Okay. On safety and health committee, as we all know, company with 40 worker and above at any place of work, you need to establish a safety and health committee. So take note that the denda, kalau tidak menubuhkan, tidak menjalankan, jawatan kuasa ini sudah naik daripada 5,000 kepada 100,000 lah. Jadi pastikan your safety and health committee meet regularly, maintain the minutes of meeting, and make sure that whatever discussion are closed, you settle whatever issues that you have lah through the meeting committee, because now the penalty is very severe lah, 100,000. Jadi pastikanlah berjalan dengan baik lah your safety committee. Training, as I have mentioned, go and send specific competency to approved and registered training provider. Okay, so the general penalty now, as I mentioned, is tenfold more. So currently is 50,000 ringgit, but now it is increased to 500,000 ringgit. And any part of the act, any part of regulation, which currently penalty is 10,000, then later on it will become 100,000. Okay, and please share the information with your directors, because now you can see that the body corporate will be charged together with the individual. So who are the individual that can be charged? Here, you can see the company definitely will be charged if there's any breach, and at the same time, the person that can be charged together with the company are director, compliance officer, partner, manager, secretary, or other similar officer of the company. So these people need to take note, be fair to them, share them this OSHA Act, share them the consequences if you are not complying, because now they have listed down who can be concurrently being charged. Apart from the company, there are individuals that can be charged. And these people need to prove themselves that they are not involved for any mishap or for any breach. So they need to prove. So in order for them to be able to prove, then they need to have proper documentation. So how do you have proper documentation? As we have discussed earlier, you need to have a proper OSH management system. You have to make sure that you have done your best as far as practicable. You have complied to the law as much as possible within your resources, within your limit. So if you can prove that to the court of law, then you are off the hook. If not, then you can be jailed, can be fined, and so on. Yeah. Okay. So in summary, of course, if you read the detail, as I mentioned, there are too many amendments to the law. But what the intention of today's session is to highlight to you the most prominent one. So remember, once this amendment takes place, we will have, I didn't discuss this, but it is there in the law. Apart from having DOSH officer that can come and inspect your workplace, we will have firma yang competent dan juga orang yang competent that can conduct inspection exercise on behalf of DOSH. So inspectoral exercise will be done either by DOSH or it can be privatized. That's number one. Number two, as we have discussed earlier, make sure that you have a emergency procedure which is specific to a emergency situation. OSH policy, make sure that you incorporate self-regulatory into the OSH policy. And remember that the exact wording is occupational safety and health policy, bukan safety policy, safety and health policy. Tapi nama yang diperuntukkan dalam undang-undang ialah occupational safety and health policy. And then remember, apart from being a responsible employer, at times you may become a principal. So once you become a principal, due to engagement with outside parties, you engage outside companies to perform the work on your behalf, you will become the principal, and there are requirements and rules as a principal that you need to uphold. Okay, risk assessment now is being spelled out in the law. You have to make sure that any given hazard related to work must go through the process of risk assessment, and not just assessing the risk, must come out with proper control measure, and that control measure must be workable and workable to the given hazard and risk. And at the same time, when you introduce a new control measure, make sure that the control measure does not introduce a new hazard. So that's very crucial. Okay, this one I didn't discuss. There are duties of manufacturer that are being amended, especially in terms of informing the end user of the hazard and informing the end user whatever product, whatever substances that you supply them have gone through proper safety tests. You can prove that it is have gone through the proper safety test, and you are aware of the residue hazard of that particular product. And any residue hazard that is still exists, then you need to communicate to the end user. Discrimination macam tadilah. Now, as we discussed, employees has the right to remove themselves from imminent danger. So in doing so, if it is done properly as per the law, then you cannot discriminate the worker against that activity, against that action. Okay, workplace will come, DOSH will come out with subscribe workplace that need to notify the business, the premise and so on to the authority. SHO 1, SHO at any given time, any workplace for those who are under the SHO order. But for the rest, with more than 5 workers, then you need to appoint an OSH coordinator. So I believe, hold on. Okay, safety committee, make sure it's running well. If not, then severe punishment. And please, if you are issued with any notice of improvement, notice of prohibition by DOSH later on, then try to close it as much as possible, because you can see here the punishment is maximum penalty. And you can also see the daily fine from 500, if I'm not mistaken, now being increased to 2,000 per day. So on top of the 500,000, it can be beyond that. Okay, so general penalties also increase to 100,000. So that's all. Thank you for being with us. So those are the highlights. So my advice to all companies, take it seriously. There are a lot of things to do. You need to plan from now, because tentatively everything will take place this coming June. With that note, I pass back the session to Hajah Haslina. Thank you, Hajah.
Terima kasih Tuan Haji Anis Fahmy for a very thorough coverage of the highlights on OSH. So di sini in the chat corner ada beberapa soalan, of which I think Cik Muhammad Nizamuddin Sulaiman have posted 2 questions. Pertamanya rasanya beliau bertanyakan on the apa tu ya, Cik Nizamuddin, you are online kan? Okay, okay. Dia bertanyakan pasal
yes, keperluan.
Yes, keperluan. Boleh, since you are ni, your mic is on, you tanya terus lah.
Oh, I just nak tahu the difference between having an OSH coordinator versus safety committee. So do we need to have both ke macam mana?
Okay, terima kasih Encik Muhammad. Encik Muhammad. Dia OSH coordinator dan safety and health apa tadi tu? OSH coordinator dengan safety and health committee kan? Committee berada di bawah section yang berbeza. OSH coordinator di bawah section 29A, safety and health committee berada di bawah section 30. Jadi dia peruntukan yang berbeza. Itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, koordinator ini individu. Bermaksud individu yang perlu dilantik oleh syarikat setelah dia menjalani kursus OSH coordinator tersebut. Dia menjadi individu yang dipertanggungjawabkan untuk memastikan penyelarasan aktiviti-aktiviti KKP di tempat kerja. Itu satu. Dia individu. Komiti ni ramai-ramai, berjemaah lah ramai-ramai. Dia ada sekretari, dia ada chairman, pengerusi, dia ada wakil pekerja, wakil majikan. Dan OSH coordinator tadi itu adalah salah seorang daripada ahli jawatan kuasa tersebut. Kalau syarikat memerlukan jawatan kuasa. Berdasarkan apa? Berdasarkan 40 orang. Dan dia automatik menjadi setiausaha kepada jawatan kuasa tersebut. Jadi itulah secara ringkas perbezaan OSH coordinator dengan safety and health committee tadi. Terima kasih.
Okey, Cik Muhammad Nizamuddin ada jawab soalan Okey, thank you. Tuan Janice Fahmy. Lepas tu Miss Wendy Tam, boleh clarify tak you put question? You put there any industries for OSH_C. What does that mean? Miss Wendy, are you online?
Yes.
Yes. Boleh you clarify the question that you would like to ask Tuan Janice Fahmy?
Meaning that the coordinator OC, is this any industry also need to be OC? Means that the hardware side, the service line, all also want to be OC.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, Wendy, for the question.
Okay.
The requirement for OSH coordinator is for all industry, for all places of work, which have 5 people and above. So regardless of your activity, so 5 people and above. The only exempted premise or industry are those having currently the safety and health officer. So if you have a safety and health officer in place, you don't need to have an OSH coordinator. So it's either or. Either you have safety officer based on the safety and health officer regulation, or we look into your numbers. If you have less than 4 people, just a small shop, a barber shop kan, 2 orang tukang gunting, no need lah. But to have a OSH coordinator. Tapi if it is a restaurant with 5 workers, that restaurant need to have 1 OSH coordinator. So it's not looking at the activity that you are doing, but it is looking at the numbers of staff that you have. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Wendy. Okay, Miss Lina also ada satu soalan dekat sini. I was also wondering, because tadi earlier on, Tuan Haji Anis Fahmy ada mengatakan the revocation of Factories and Machinery Act dan sebagainya. Jadi sekarang ni, I was also thinking in line with Lina, maknanya dengan efektif dengan Jun 2023 ni, sama ada the court cases yang prior to June tu macam mana?
That one still go on. So as of the effective date is concerned, moving forward, then it will take effect. Whatever is to come. The previous one, then it is still as it is lah, status quo lah. For example, if you have a machine being registered under FMA, so let's say the expired date is July. Expired date is July. And then it is still applicable. It is still acceptable until July. So when the machine is expired, then you have to go through the process of the new law. So whatever is in the past will take effect until the expiry date if it is machineries. Contoh dia tahun lepas dah daftar mesin itu, katakanlah mati bulan 10 tahun 2023. Selagi 2023 selagi bulan 10 belum sampai, kita masih terpakai lah SCF dia tu. Sampai dah tamat nanti ada kena ikut prosedur yang baru lah.
Okay, that answers you, Ms. Lina. Okay, Encik Muhammad Najmi over here is asking for OSH policy, whether we can combine together dengan environment policy of the company. OSH policy dengan environment policy.
So, if you want to combine OSH policy and environmental policy, shouldn't be a problem. It's not a big issue. The issue is whether the OSH policy consists the 5C that is supposed to be there. Commitment, compliance, competency, communication, continual improvement. Make sure that the elements are in place. You want to add on environmental element is okay. As far as the law is concerned, there's no harm. But again, you have to be cautious of the state office interpretation. Because enforcement is based on state office. You see, for example, Johor, they have the DOSH state office. Selangor, they have the state office. Some in the past, some state office say, please do not mix the two. So at that point of time, then you split lah. At that point of time, you split the two policy lah, based on the administrative enforcement. But as of the law is concerned, there's no harm for you to combine. Tetapi adalah dia DOSH pun ada mazhab kan. So kadang-kadang dia bergantung pada negeri. Tafsiran dia begitu, pada ketika dia keluarkan notis pada waktu itu, maka asingkan. Itulah lebih kurang.
Okay, terima kasih Tuan Haji Anis. Okay, this one is just my thinking of banyak orang macam tak berapa menekankan sangatlah aspek OSH in the workplace. Bila dah terjadi kemalangan, baru macam terpaksa bersoal jawab dengan the authorities. Okay, berdasarkan pengalaman, based on your wealth of experience, maybe you can just share to us some examples of from you punya audit work kan, you buat macam contohnya kesalahan-kesalahan yang sangat ketara in which company tak perasan, benda ni melanggar polisi ataupun undang-undang berkaitan dengan OSH. Maybe just share 2-3 senario, Tuan Haji.
Okay, thank you Haja. Berdasarkan pengalaman yang lepas-lepas dan juga rakan-rakan kita di syarikat, because normally they call me up for advice, call me for consultancy service. Yang biasanya berlaku in terms of policy, the policy is not reviewed from year to year. So, and then if you don't review after an accident case, by right, after you have an accident case, you need to review the policy, because you have some cases, meaning something wrong with the policy. So you need to review. That's number one. Number two, company don't conduct systematic HIRAC, hazard identification, risk assessment and control. A lot of companies don't even have HIRAC document. So this is nothing. And I've been approached by many companies after DOSH visit. So selalunya yang tidak ada polisi, ataupun polisi kurang isi, ataupun tidak buat HIRAC. Yang lebih merisaukan, tidak menubuhkan jawatan kuasa. There are a lot of company out there, they just business as usual, but they don't have a safety committee, and even if they establish the committee, it doesn't implement the frequency of meeting and so on. So these are the common violation unintentionally by our member companies. So that would be my answer to that.
Okay, thank you. So from among the audience, any other pressing soalan tak yang you nak tanya? I just give you one more question to pose to Tuan Haji Fahmy, because kita pun dah nak sampai ke penghujung. Any other question from your side, participants? Okay, while waiting, kalau ada any pop question satu, just to sum up kita punya session today that number one, you know how important on the awareness of OSH amendments, all that. Dan MEF kita ada the expertise for you to guide you, for you to consult, dan juga a very professional trainer for you to have training on OSH aspects lah, ya. Dan juga kalau katakan you would like Tuan Haji Anis Fahmy to do OSH audit, dia berkebolehan untuk melakukannya. Jadi sekarang ni lagi satu, don't orang kata deny the fact that MEF does play a very important role untuk menyedarkan majikan di luar sana on the significant aspects of this highlight dan sebagainya. Jadi jadilah member kita. For those of you yang non-member still, so you can always contact us in the member team, MEF membership at mef.org.my to learn more about membership, dan we would love to see you join us as a member in the near future. Kalau macam katakan sekarang ni is almost end of May, kalau kata after this session you think that you would like to be associated with us as a member, you can still join us. You bayar 1 full year penuh. So for next year, katakan in June, your application for membership is approved. So for year 2024, your subscription will be prorated half year. Macam sebab you akan bayar penuh for this time. For this time around, the first time application. Okay, so I hope that you've had a very good session, a good new knowledge. Dan kalau ada apa-apa kesilapan di pihak kami, minta maaf. Dan it's good to have you around, and please keep in touch with MEF and follow kita punya social media platforms, like dan juga rajin-rajinlah search for information in our MEF website. With that, saya sudahkan dengan ucapan wassalamualaikum and have a pleasant weekend tomorrow. Thank you.